Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, I have often shared with you the process of coming to my Sunday lessons, and today's requires being shared. This entire season of Advent, each Sunday that I prepare for a lesson, I've been doing this years. And how can I share this message so that it's uplifting and inspiring, not only for you, as well on this Advent journey, because this is my journey too. And every Sunday there's been something that moved and Spirit showed up in ways with my mother's inspiration for faith. And I was all prepared because I turned to the Book of Joy when it comes to talk about joy. The Book of Joy by Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama. And I was all ready. I had my 5 pillars of joy, and I was ready and excited to talk about it. And yesterday morning, I opened my email, and my friend, Reverend Ariana Flatten, sent out this beautiful message. I receive them every Sunday. And I said, oh, gosh, that's it. That's the joy. So instead of the Book of Joy, we'll hear words according to Reverend Ariana Platten. And I promised that I would credit her with these words. So do you feel joy this morning? Some, yes, some still deciding, some maybe not, and that's all okay. Whatever we feel, when we feel it, is fine and a-okay. So what is it that stirs joy in you? Anybody? What stirs joy? Smiles. Aw, that's beautiful. Yes. Friends, yes. Beauty. What's beautiful for you? This place, yes. Well, look around at our beautiful chapel, and you cannot help but feel joy. Oh, yes. For me, of course, it's, any time with my grandchildren. And on Friday, I had my granddaughter. It was so joyful. I love that. Go ahead, Karen.
Today is equinox, and I watched the sunrise.
Oh, watching the sunrise on the equinox. Oh, yes. All of those things fill our heart with joy. So for children of all ages, maybe this is something that tickles you with joy. Maybe? I see smiles. Yes, there's joy in that. That's the anticipation of Christmas. So this message that I share with you of joy is about the Yuletide and the origin of Santa. Courtesy Reverend Ariana Platten. And she says that over the course of years she studied and that she learned a lot about Santa. And he really has an unexpected history. We think of Santa in the sleigh flying across the sky, ho, 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 but really Santa was a little bit different in that. He was a presence that arrived in the darkest point of the year, the solstice, when the world is thin and tired and needs reassurance. Do you sometimes feel that in the dark winter months? Feel a little tired, maybe a little weary, maybe a little blue, and need some reassurance that, yes, it's all going to be okay. So this idea existed long before Christmas morning was a thing of unwrapping presents, overeating. Before that, commercial myth took hold. Long before the elves and the list of naughty and nice, long before the North Pole, this ancient Santa was the keeper of Yuletide, the winter wisdom, the sacred turning of the year. he was known as the Holly King. And this is what the Holly King might look like. He began as a necessity. And the necessity was people needed hope. And the Holly King is an ancient tradition of the winter, particularly across Europe. That person that we now call Santa was originally the Holly King, and he ruled over the dark half of the year, the winter solstice. And he was crowned in evergreen, as you can see, marked with holly and berries, and he represented endurance, that we have the countenance to endure those long winter months. Protection and survival. The Holly King didn't bring luxurious gifts. He brought what was needed and what mattered. Warmth, community, a reminder that even though the earth is dark, nothing dies. It rests. Life doesn't end. It rests. And at the Yule, the longest night of the year, the Holly King would surrender his crown to the newborn sun that would rise. And we know that from day to day onward, it might be just a few seconds, it might be a minute or two, but every day has a few more moments of lightness, a fewer moments of darkness. This is the cycle when the darkness begins to yield to the light. Do you ever notice that in your own life? That sometimes when we're sitting in the deepest, darkest, very gently, almost effortlessly, it begins to yield to something light, something hopeful, something to look forward to. So this is the heart of the Santa story. So even though Santa arrives in the dark nights, not during the easy days. So the original gifts of winter, says Reverend Ariana, from the ancient Santa were not about rewards. You know, we were always told, I was always told, if I was good, which was nearly impossible, I would get what I wanted for Christmas or something close to it, right? Were you told that? This early Santa brought what was needed, remembering that you will be fed, that you will be kept warm, and that you will have provisions to make it through. Evergreen boughs were brought into the house to remind people that life persists, life continues, life carries on. Fires were lit not just to keep warm, but as a form of prayer. Do you light candles as part of your prayer ritual? Do you light incense as part of your prayer ritual? That's carried through from days of old when the fires in the hearth were prayers. Stories were told and retold because those memories are survival. Those memories that we share are keeping our ancestry alive. The memories and stories that we talk about keeps us connected to our ancestors and looks forward to the future. Santa's laughter, even in those old stories, you can see that this Holly King looks quite jovial, was humor and the importance of humor in all of this survival. And humor is one of the pillars of joy. And that perspective of remembering that life will continue on, that in spring new growth always comes, that perspective is a pillar of joy also. And sometimes it's hard, yes, but we'll survive. We're here. We're with each other. And so how Santa became Santa Claus. As Christianity spread, the ancient winter Holly King didn't disappear. He layered himself in new stories. His generosity merged with St. Nicholas. And this is a rendering of St. Nicholas. And St. Nicholas was known for giving secret gifts, for leaving gifts behind, and caring for the vulnerable. Who might we see as vulnerable and needing of care? And we continue, so we Holly King that's wrapped in St. Nicholas, and in the Nordic tradition we have Odin, riding the winter skies, watching and blessing with hospitality. So we have all of these traditions wrapped together. These gods of the past weren't erased. They were melded into this modern day Santa Claus. We had the pagan winter king, the Christian saint, and the Nordic sky rider all coming together into Santa Claus. It was the spirit of generosity at a time when generosity mattered most. Generosity is one of the pillars of joy. When we open our heart to share ourselves, our time, our abundance, our wisdom, our creative thinking, when we share that with others, it not only does it come back to us, but we warm the earth. We warm the lives of other people by sharing ourselves. So I believe this Santa is still real. Well, people who say Santa is not, of course, they mean the Santa sitting in the sleigh at the mall with the children on his lap. That's make-believe. But the original intention of Santa, the truth, is quiet and enduring. Santa is real because winter, those dark, cold nights, require Santa. He began to, as a way to fulfill a need, and that need still exists. He lives in the instinct to offer warmth instead of judgment. He lives in the humor that keeps us when the world shows us heaviness. When you look out into the world is not our joy. The world cannot give us our joy, and the world cannot take away our joy unless we allow it. So this humor given to us and the joy that's given to us at a time when life might feel heavy. And it is quiet in generosity that doesn't require credit or even gratitude. Nothing in return, just pure generosity. So the ancient Santa never asked that anyone believed, only that people participate. To slow down. We talked about this in one of our Tuesday or Wednesday groups. You know, this is a time of year that we have extra darkness to allow our bodies to sleep and rest. And if we followed the cycles of the earth, we would do that. We would turn in a little earlier, maybe sleep a little later, rest our bodies, rather than charging through and adding more to our calendars and more to our days and stressing ourselves and worrying ourselves. We would to the light, the precious light that we do have in our days, the precious light that resides in us. We would tend to it, we would nurture it, we would feed our spiritual selves with inspirational readings, music that carries us into contemplation. We would share what we are able. This indeed is a time of sharing. We started back in Thanksgiving, sharing food from our closets for those who might not have. We shared gifts and Christmas presents for families who might not have. And we trust the cycle. We trust the cycle of nature, of rest, spring rebirth, summer and fall, plenty and harvest, and rest again. And we trust the cycle of all that's happening in our world. We trust that out of chaos that we see, confusion that we feel, we trust that in its right time, goodness will emerge. And when we release the need to be in charge of that, to know, to want to be in charge of that, we can allow that goodness to come. We can free the space in us to do what is ours to do. And you all know what you're called to do, to bring peace, to bring love, to bring joy, and to stand in faith that in time, goodness will emerge. Now, this is a reminder for today's time. This Yule marks the turning point, not a triumph. It marks a turning point. It marks a turning point of light returning, slowly returning. Tomorrow, you'll probably not notice that there's a few more seconds or minutes to the day. You probably won't notice that. You probably won't notice till February that our days are stretching out. And this old-fashioned Santa, this is a survival of our sacred all the way back to the Holly King. And it rests in our intelligent mind as generosity and strength and compassion and kindness. Santa was never meant to be in the mall with children on his lap. Santa was meant to be in the forest among the trees and the animals, to be at the hearth of our homes when we gather with our families and we share those precious close moments, and to be with us in those long nights as they turn to day. Santa is real because we still need Santa as kindness, as gentleness. And the old stories rise again and again to remind us just how we might move through times of darkness, whether it's winter or darkness in our personal lives or darkness in our country or darkness that we see in the world, that we might move through it with grace, with fortitude, because we have the faith to keep going, to keep standing, to keep speaking, to keep doing all that is ours to do. So as we arrive at this Christmas time, let's pause in stillness to hear the voice of the angels of tidings of great joy and the news that they brought. And as we move into Christmas, let's go with hope in our heart to sustain ourselves, to carry us through, with peace in our thoughts and our words that inspire ourselves and perhaps even others, with love in our heart to connect and stay connected to each other, and with joy to remind ourselves of these gifts of the season. And as always, together we say, let all you do be done in love.